In the early 90s, I was in great shape. I like to hike, bike, ski, anything with outdoors, both water and snow. I love to do it. And so my friends said I was pretty outdoorsy. So when I met my friend Rick while working at a nursing facility in Scottsdale, we hit it off immediately. We were like ebony and ivory. We're together in perfect harmony because we shared the same interests in the outdoor activities and we had the same spiritual beliefs. Now, during our breaks, we would talk about everything. We'd talk about religion, we'd talk about politics, sports, any and everything. And what I found interesting about Rick is when he talked about his mission trips to smuggle Bibles into communist and authoritarian countries. I was like, man, that is some dedication to God. To risk life and liberty for God. I said, if I could be as dedicated as that. And what was also intriguing about Rick is that he lived in his 1989 diesel-powered VW Vagabond. Even though he had relatives, his grandparents lived in Glendale, he still chose to live the van life when he came to Arizona. So in our conversations with Rick, I learned there's one place he had never been to but always wanted to go. He's been to every place, but never been to one of the 7 wonders of the world, the Grand Canyon. Now, Rick was about to leave in about a month or so, and I said, hey, why don't we take a 5-day spiritual journey into the Grand Canyon? We can hike, we can take our Bibles with us, we can read the word, we'll meditate, we'll become one with the Lord. Now, Rick said, cool, let's do it. So we loaded up his van and headed up the I-17 toward the Grand Canyon. Now, if you ever ridden in a diesel-powered vehicle going up the I-17, it is slow. Because I felt that I could jump out, run up the highway faster than the van was going, or better yet, jump out and help push it up to the Grand Canyon. We'll get there faster. We finally get to the Grand Canyon. Now, if you're going to camp in the Grand Canyon, you had to get a permit at the Outback office. So we go to the Outback office, and it's closed. So we say, okay, we'll come back the next morning, we'll get our permit and be on our way. The next morning, we oversleep. We get to the Outback office, and it seems there's a line about 2 miles long. And we say, oh, we're not waiting in this line. Let's do a little sightseeing, and then we'll come back and get our permit. We'll do a little sightseeing, come back, and the Outback office is closed again. We're like, oh, journey. So we do that. We wake up, we get to the Outback office before the crowd, and now while we're waiting for our turn at the counter, I'm looking around at the Outback office, and they have these fabulous pictures of the Grand Canyon. You got thunderstorms, just beautiful pictures. And me being a photographer, I'm going to take these fabulous pictures documenting our journey. I'm going to channel my inner Ansel Adams, Brett Weston, and Gordon Parks, and they're going to beg me to put these pictures up in the Outback office. And of course, in the Arizona highways. But there's one picture that stays with me today. It's a picture of this guy. He's perched on this cliff, and he's bloated, and you can tell he's dead. And underneath the caption says, make sure you do not wind up like this. Take and drink enough water while in the canyon. I'm like, oh yeah, definitely not gonna wind up like that. So now it's our turn at the counter. And I tell the clerk, I said, we're gonna hike down the Brian Angel Trail and camp around the Phantom Ranch area and everything. And she says, I'm sorry, there are no more permits for that area. And Rick and I look at each other, what? No more permits? Now, what are we gonna do? Because Rick is getting ready to leave the state and no telling when or if he's able to make this journey again. But then we hear some voices behind us and they say, hey, why don't you guys try Hermit's Trail? We're like, Hermit's Trail? Yes, Hermit's Trail. It's very beautiful, very scenic. It's a little more challenging, but it's not as crowded as Brian Angel Trail. Because Brian Angel Trail can be like walking in Manhattan. You got You got donkeys, you got hikers, you got tourists, you got everything going up and down. And she had me hooked when she said beautiful and scenic because I want to take these fabulous pictures. I said, okay, cool. We'll like a permit for Hermit's Trail. And then the clerk says, are you sure? Yeah, we would like a permit for Hermit's Trail. And she says, well, you know, the ranger only goes down that trail maybe once or twice a week. Ranger? What do we need a ranger for? We are manly men. We don't need no ranger. So she gives us our permit and we're ready to go. We go to Rick's van, gather our gear. Now, we leave some things behind because we're not going to be there as long as we originally planned because of our delays. We get to the tram. It takes us to the west end of the canyon and drops us off at the trailhead. Now, it's about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. On the top of the canyon, it's beautiful. It's about 85 degrees, a slight breeze. Just a beautiful day. But as you descend into hell, it gets hotter and hotter. And we're beginning this trail on the hottest time of the day, step by step by step, on this rocky, rugged, narrow, switchback trail. 20 minutes into this, I'm like, did we make the right decision? But being a manly man, I didn't say anything, Rick didn't say anything, and we press on. About an hour into the hike, a strap breaks on Rick's canteen and goes over the side. Now I always say, oh, yeah, that's a little problem. We started out with 4 containers. We got 3. We're cool because we're going to get to the Colorado River. We know there's a waterfall somewhere along the trail. We can replenish the water we need. We're good to go. A little bit further down the trail, about an hour or so after that, I drop a container and it starts to leak. But we press on because we know we're going to find that waterfall and replenish what we have. Now, we're trying to conserve water and food, but we have to drink water and eat food because we have to keep hydrated and energized. Now, unfortunately, we are unable to find the waterfall. We can hear it kind of echoing off the canyon walls, but we cannot find it. Until about 8 hours into this hike, we are exhausted. We collapse on these boulders. We can't go any further. And more importantly, we are out of water. So we said, okay, we are going to have to hike back out of here before the sun comes up because we don't know how close or how far we are from the Colorado River. And then we said, okay, we're just going to have to rest here for a little bit and let's begin our journey out. Rick sets his Casio watch for about 2 hours. It seems like it went off in 2 minutes. And we wake up. I said, oh, okay, we're going to have to pray. We do a little prayer. And then we begin our journey out. But I come up with this great idea. I say, hey, why don't we try to find an easier trail to go out than the one we came in? Yeah, right. Now, I'm thinking of the Bright Angel Trail, but I'm not taking in consideration that the distance between the Bright Angel Trail and Hermit's Trail is now miles apart. But we began our search on this dry wash. About 2 hours into this search, we don't know where we are. We are lost. Now, 2 things that would have came in handy at this time is like a compass and a map of trails, both of which we left in the van when we downsized our materials. Now we have to backtrack to try to get to the place where we originally collapsed at. Now, as we're backtracking, Rick sees a frog or toad or something, and he says, hey, there's got to be some water around here somewhere. And so we search for the water, and we find a little stream of water. But now we have a predicament, because in that same Outback office, that same picture and that same caption, it says, before drinking any water out of the canyon, you must purify it first. Now, this wouldn't have been a problem if we hadn't left our purifying materials in the van with the compass and the map. So now we have to pray. Because we have a choice. We can either drink the water and possibly die, or choose not to drink the water and definitely die. So we pray about it, and we drink the water. And it was good. And then we put water into our containers, thinking we have enough to begin our journey out. Step by step by step. We reached the place that we originally collapsed at, and we began going up the trail. Now, things that were giving us encouragement on the way down, like having a conversation, repeating Bible verses, and singing songs, was getting on our nerves on the way up. It got to the point that we're starting to argue, starting to cuss at each other. And we began to argue, and we came to a point where we almost came to blows. We said, shut up! Don't say nothing to me. No, you shut up. Don't say nothing to me. And then we decided to say, walk in silence. Now, this made it worse because when we're arguing about the situation that we're in, even though we're arguing about the situation we're in, it took our minds off of the situation we're in. But now that we're walking in silence, all we can think about is the situation that we're in. And that picture is getting clearer and clearer. It got so bad, I was ready to throw all my camera equipment over the side. The weight was bearing down me. I was going to throw my cameras away, my lenses, my tripod, everything. Because I had only taken a couple pictures since we began this whole journey. And I didn't need this weight bearing down on me because I thought I was going to die. So finally, now I don't know if any of you were around in the late 80s and 90s here in Arizona when Channel 12 had a helicopter pilot and reporter named Jerry Foster. You know, Jerry talked about the traffic congestion and the weather and everything, and we also do rescues around the state. I was praying for Jerry Foster, but to no avail. Finally, we reach a plateau, and we can see a couple coming down the trail that we're trying to go up. Unfortunately, it wasn't the same couple that told us about Herman's Trail, because we really would have loved to see them about now. But they see that we are in dire straits, and they provide us with some electrolytes and some candy and some nuts and some fruit. And we refurbish, rejuvenated. They pray with us. They go their way, and we go our way, step by step. Now, Rick and I are a little rejuvenated. We're starting to have a conversation again, starting to talk again. Well, argue, but it's good because it's helping take our mind off the situation that we're in. Until finally, about 14 hours into this journey out, we reach the top of the trailhead, fall to our knees, completely exhausted, unable to move. We fall face forward, just laying there for about 2 to 3 hours. And I learned a few things from that trip. I learned that even though we did not have the spiritual journey we had intended to have, we definitely had a spiritual journey. And even though we wanted to get closer to God, we came a little bit closer than we really wanted to. And I come to realize that whatever challenge that you have, whatever circumstances or struggle that you're going through, if you have a little bit of faith and a little bit of perseverance, you can overcome. And I believe you have not lived until you almost died.